Now take this golden opportunity to introduce Ms. Reena Ahuja to the audience. Ms. Reena Ahuja is working as Senior Director HR at Hughes Communications India Limited since June 2004. She has played a pivotal role in accomplishing complete HR turnaround at Hughes from human resources being a support function to an essential business strategy function. She has previously worked with Schlumberger India as Country Personal Manager and Citicorp Credit Services Limited as Personal Manager. She has had an illustrious career in human resources over the past 20 years. She was the only human resource manager globally to be made Country Personal Manager for all Schlumberger businesses. She also successfully resolved industrial relation issues to help resolve two-decade-old militant Sena trade union in the oil field operations during her stint at Schlumberger. She did her MBA from DEI Agra and stood second in her batch. She has always been an academic topper and was gold medalist at Agra University at both postgraduate and graduate levels in chemistry. She is also an avid sports enthusiast and has participated in several state-level sports events. May I now request you, ma'am, to kindly come to the dais and share your valuable thoughts with the audience.
Thanks a lot for those nice, kind words. Thank you very much, General, and Colonel Arora and Brigadier Tony, to get us here today, and Nova, persistently follow us up and ensure that we are here on time. And to this whole class who's been, I believe, waiting for a while to, impatiently, I think, to get us over into this room. And, but let me tell you, I also don't have a presentation, just like his 100-slide presentation crashed his machine. I figured that, there were just too many expectations from the young batch. And if I start putting it, I might also run into the problem of my machine crashing, and could run into maybe 400 slides. So I think we've covered some very, very key points, and Mr. Goswami has taken you through the basics of what is expected of young professionals, whether they are MBA professionals or engineering professionals as they come out of school. And there's just a few more things that I want to add. And I think one of the key things here is that you need to be, apart from, of course, the technical know-how that you get here, and I think this institute is doing a lot to ensure that you have the cutting edge over the other students coming out from other institutes. Also giving you this kind of environment so that you learn. What is really required is to just take this whole character forward. And I think, character is something which is so inherent to you doing well in your jobs and in the industry. And by that I mean, you have to, as individuals, the moment you step out, know yourself. And there is no better person to know yourself than you yourself. So what is your expectation is something which is very important. And then align your expectation to what the industry expectations are. So if the industry is looking for fire in the belly, if it's looking for people who are disciplined, punctual, if it's looking for, people who constantly want to be learning, in their jobs as they perform in their jobs, and also people who are going to take the companies ahead with them, then you need to figure out, is that really what excites you? And if it does, then, you really have to, you probably are not there yet, because you're still very young, and most of you will be, like about 21, 22. So if you are really wanting to do all of that, take your company ahead, be successful not just as individuals, then there is really something that you need to work upon on yourself as individuals. And one of the key things here is discipline and punctuality. I think if you start with these two, it is paramount. You really will know how to take the next step forward. Be on time, whether turning around reports. I think that is the key. So that's really basic. And second to that is, I would suggest is, being a good citizen. Now, would any one of you be able to tell me, what really being a good citizen is? Since I use this word. Anybody from the audience? Somebody at the back. Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I believe that being a good citizen means taking the responsibility of being a citizen of my country, of taking small steps as if making the environment not polluted, or as we go in metro,
I think you do the mic.
about senior citizens.
I believe
that being a
all right, technical failure, I guess. All right, being a good citizen to me at least means taking my responsibilities as a citizen of India, of my own country, not polluting the environment, taking on things which are actually told to us but we don't follow. Small things like we have written pamphlets or given to us, help senior citizens, give up your seats to those who need it more, but we hardly ever follow it. That is taking the responsibility as a good citizen of your own country. It's being responsible. And hardly any one of us take the responsibility nowadays. Thank you.
Okay, that's very well said. Truly like a management graduate. So I would go back to something that you probably learned in grade 8, which is know your rights and know your duties. Okay, a lot of us know our rights. We know this is what we want, we know what is going to be helpful to us as individuals, but we forget that our responsibilities, which is the word she used, very correct, and our duties towards not just the country, but anything that we are involved in, any commitment that we make is very important. So I think the basic is that if you're a good citizen and you know your rights and your duties, you will possibly be very successful. Knowledge is the key, and not just technical knowledge. So knowledge about the environment, knowledge about what is expected from you, not just by your managers, but your peer levels, but by other departments who are going to be interacting with you, and more so with your peer and the other departments and the environment around you, because that is going to be really helping you take your or create your own path. And more often what happens is that people tend to, when they get into problem solving, they tend to look at the problem, and the individual together. So as young professionals, whenever you get into a situation where you see a problem, I would suggest separate the problem from the person. Okay? Whether it's your client, whether it's a client who's upset with you, or whether it's a client who's happy with you, remember, most of the time, he's looking at you as an entity who belongs to somewhere. Okay? So the idea here is and what it does is that it gives you a very, very, a perspective to the problem which is very non-biased. So learn to separate the problem from the person, whether it's in the industry or whether it's in your personal life, and you'll figure out that you'll be solving these problems much better. The second thing I often see, when management students come in, particularly, is that they would be assigned to managers, assigned to managers who might not have a fancy qualification, as fancy a qualification as the person reporting to him. So be very grounded, do not have an air about you which says, or which gives a feeling to somebody who's superior to you that, here's a smart young individual who's come in and who's trying to show me off with degrees. Okay? And that's something which will come to you, and as you settle down in your job, you'll figure out that really helps. Because there's much more to experience than to degrees. And that's been my personal learning also. And I started out on the wrong foot, and I figured out that that's really not the way to go. So from my experience, I can tell you that, get into working, whoever is assigned to you as your manager, as your supervisor, assuming that yes, he knows more than you, irrespective of whether he has degrees or not. And I think the other aspect that young individuals tend to really get caught up with is the generation gap. Realize that somebody who's been working in the industry, somebody like us who's maybe going to be 20 years your senior, might not be on the same plane as you are. Though we really desperately try, in your parties we try to be as young as you, and in the company forums we try to show that we are, just like one of you people. But temperamentally, things were very different 20 years back. How we, were groomed into the industry, what we were taught as best practices of people management, and all of that has changed. So, do not disregard the fact that there will be some generation gap adjustments that both of us are doing. There's one end where your managers are trying to do that. On the other end, give yourself the flexibility to understand the system, to understand, several seniors who are there, and figure out that, this is something that will always persist for a while. There's always going to be a generation gap, whether it's you getting adjusted to the seniors, and then once you become seniors, you getting adjusted to the juniors, and vice versa. So I think that becomes very key, the flexibility, the agility. And finally, I'd like to add that, live in the organization with cheer and happiness. You might not, figure out whether that's the job, your dream job, or the job you love. But whatever you're doing, I think do it happily. And being in an organization with a long face, trying to really find excuses saying that I can't do this because this is not right, you will never find, something that is so right. Exactly the way, life is. So if you're a happy camper, you probably find more solutions. But if you're going to be unhappy about things, you're probably going to sink in deeper. Irrespective of changing jobs, going from one place to another, there's never ever going to be perfection for you as far as what you want. So be happy and contribute. There's a lot of good things that Mr. Goswami told you on the professional front.